Bienvenue! Oh, come in. I'm so glad it's Monday, actually. I say that every week, and I mean it every week. The windows are already open. I went room to room before the kettle had even finished this morning, pulled up sashes and propped casements, and now the whole ground floor is alive with something I cannot quite describe and also wouldn't trade for anything. Garden air, cool and a little green and still carrying the night in it. The roses under the south wall are doing something worth checking on every morning this week, so I've been checking. It rained yesterday evening, not heavily, just enough to settle the dust and make the garden smell like the best possible version of itself. And then the sky cleared overnight, and now it's completely blue, and it's going to be a good drying day. I've been making a mental note about the linen pillowcases since approximately last Tuesday. This is Monday in the washroom, which is where I always want to start a week when I want to feel clean and light and properly begun. I love this room at this hour. Come through. I want to show you something. There's a version of Monday Reset that I know quite well and have largely abandoned. It involves a great deal of urgency, deep cleaning, reorganizing, catching up on everything that slipped during the weekend, and it works occasionally and fails spectacularly the rest of the time. By mid-morning, I've usually started 3 things and finished none of them, and the house looks more chaotic than before I began. The version that actually works, I found, is much smaller, and it begins with something that costs nothing at all. If you want to do one thing alongside me this morning, let it be this. Open every window in your home that you can safely open and leave them open for 20 minutes. Just 20. Let the rooms exchange what they've been accumulating, the warmth, the night air, the particular still quality that even the loveliest homes develop overnight for whatever the morning outside is currently offering. If you can't open windows, open a door. If you can't do that, turn a fan on. The principle is the same. Movement. Air that moves through a space changes how the space feels. It is the most immediate reset I know, and it costs nothing, and it works every single time. And if you want to add one small thing after the 20 minutes, make the beds while the windows are still open. There is something about freshly made linen in a room that has had morning air moving through it that is quietly one of the best things a home can offer. Before we carry on, I want to introduce you to something. You're here because you love the seasons and the rhythms of a life that pays attention to the world around it, and I think that means there's a book with your name on it. It's called Daughter of Water. It's fantasy, elemental, lyrical, with magic rooted in the natural world and a heroine who discovers she was always meant for something larger. My husband and I wrote it together, and I'm quietly proud of it. It's an NIEA finalist. It has 5 stars from Reader's Favorite, and it also was awarded the Bragg Medallion. You'll find it at dampts.com, that's DAMPTS.com, and on Amazon. The links are in the show notes. If you give it a chance, it means everything to us. Right, carrying on. I've been carrying something from Thoreau all week, and I have to share it now because I've been slightly obsessed with it since Thursday. It's from Walden, which I return to every few years at exactly the moment I need it, and never quite know why until I'm already inside it. This particular line stopped me mid-cup. Morning is when I am awake, and there is a dawn in me. There is a dawn in me. I read that and sat with it for an embarrassingly long time. The idea that waking up isn't just a physical event, but a capacity. That it's possible to be technically upright, dressed, going through the motions, and still not properly awake. And that the choice to be awake, to notice the dawn that's there for the noticing, is something you have to keep making every day as an act of small will. Does that happen to you? That particular feeling of going through the morning without quite being in it yet? The open window, I think, is one of the ways of making the choice. The cool air arriving, the garden coming into the room before you've left the house. Something in the body responds to that before the mind has done anything at all. There is a dawn in this too, if you're willing to step into it. Come through to the ballroom for a few minutes. I've put something on that feels right for a Monday. Something that sounds like early light through leaves and the beginning of a week that hasn't yet decided what it will be. Bring your tea through if you'd like. Write something if the mood is on you a list, not of tasks, but of what you'd like this week to feel like, which is a different kind of list entirely, or just sit and let the music do what it does. That piece makes me think of someone moving slowly and purposefully through the early part of the day, not rushing, just attending. Let's move on to the nursery. I want to tell you something small. When I was a child, one of the ways I always knew we'd arrived home after a holiday, a weekend away, a long day at someone else's house, was by smell. Every home has a smell that belongs only to it, though you stop noticing it from inside after a while. Step away for a few days and come back through the front door, and there it is, your particular combination of old wood and cooking, or something deeper that I've never found the right word for. I love that smell. It was entirely specific to our house, and it felt like evidence of everyone who lived there. All the ordinary Tuesdays accumulated in the walls, all the meals and fires and rainy afternoons. What I didn't understand until much later is that the smell of a house is partly the smell of still air that has stayed in the same rooms, breathing the same things in and out. Open the windows and the smell changes. What replaces it is something less particular but more spacious, the smell of the morning coming in, which is always a little melancholy, in a way I've never quite been able to explain. Cleaner, less storied, a little like starting over. I open the windows every Monday now. It's become kind of a small ritual, letting the week begin on fresh air, letting the rooms be briefly unburdened of everything the week before left in them. Oh, the washroom. It's not a grand room, a utility space really, and you can still see that in the deep stone sink and the long wooden drying rails along the south wall. But in June, with the window opened, the side garden, and the morning light coming in at the angle it does right now, it becomes something else entirely. Quieter and more beautiful than you'd expect. The kind of room you forget to mention when you describe the house to people, and then they walk in and they understand immediately. I've been thinking about what resetting a space actually means because I use that language constantly. Monday reset, fresh start, clearing out. And I think it can sound more effortful than it needs to. The truth is that for most rooms, on most Mondays, a reset is really only 3 things. First, air. We've already talked about this. Open the window, let the room breathe. This is always first, always free, always works. Second, return. 5 minutes, small basket, walk through the house collecting everything that's migrated to the wrong room. The book from the bedroom that somehow ended up on the kitchen table, the jumper draped over the bathroom door, the cup that went upstairs on Thursday and never came back. This isn't a deep sort, just a returning, putting things back where they live. The decision is already made. You just have to carry the thing. It takes much less time than you think, and when it's done, the rooms feel lighter in a way that has nothing to do with actual cleanliness. Third, one fresh thing. Not a complete overhaul, not a purchase, just one element that feels deliberately renewed. A candle lit, clean towels put out, a small bunch of something from the garden in the hall, a new bar of soap at the kitchen sink, one thing that says this is a new week and I have attended to it, even briefly. This morning, the washroom has clean linen on the rail, properly stiff from last week's good drying days, which I find unreasonably satisfying, and a small jar of dried lavender on the windowsill that I moved from the landing because the light is better in here. Full extent of the reset, approximately 4 minutes. I will take that every single Monday. I think we make Monday morning more dramatic than it needs to be. The house doesn't need to be transformed, it just needs to feel tended to. There's a real difference between a room that is pristine and a room that is cared for, and it is always, always the cared for room that feels good to be in. Your version of this doesn't need to look like mine, it just needs to have the 3 things. Air, return, one fresh thing. That's enough. I mean it. It really is. A moment, because I want to tell you about something that happens on Wednesdays. When I'm in the atelier, which if you've been here a while, you know is one of my favorite days of the week, one of the things I love to do is design patterns, seasonal things, botanical things, the kind of imagery that belongs in a room that cares about how it looks. My daughter Gwen found her joy in art not so long ago, and we've made it something we do together. She draws, I develop, and somewhere in that back and forth, the designs become what they are. Ladybirds on soft pink linen, folk florals and gentle pastels, botanical prints in muted blues and greens, warm linen textures in cream and beige, the kind of thing that ends up on a tea towel in a kitchen you love, or on fabric for a quilt you've been meaning to start, or on a bag you carry to the farmer's market on Saturday mornings. The shop is called Gwen's Gardenias, named after her because none of it would be what it is without her, and you'll find the fabric and wallpaper on Spoonflower and finished goods, pillows, bags, tea towels, and more on Redbubble. Both links are in the show notes. If something catches your eye, it genuinely means the world to both of us. Now, back to the estate. There was a letter this week from someone who writes, "My home never feels quite settled no matter how much I tidy. I'm always picking things up and putting them away, and it doesn't seem to make any lasting difference. I'm not sure what I'm missing." I feel this question so completely because I spent several years in exactly that feeling before I worked out what was going on. The perpetual tidying, picking up, putting down, picking up again, is almost never about cleanliness. It is usually about one of 2 things. Either the objects in the room don't have a sufficiently specific home of their own, designated places where they live and are expected to return to, or the room is carrying too many functions at once, and none of them are being served well enough to give the space a settled feeling. When everything has a home, tidying becomes a simple act of returning. You pick something up and you put it back where it lives. The decision is already made. When things don't have homes, every tidy is a series of small decisions. Where does this go? What do I do with this? Where should this actually be? And that is exhausting in a low-level way that accumulates over time into exactly the feeling you're describing. The other thing that helps, more than almost anything I know, is this. Take one surface in your home, the one that bothers you the most, and clear it completely. Take everything off it, wipe it down, then put back only the things that genuinely belong there, that serve a real purpose in that exact spot that you would actively choose to look at every day. Leave the rest on the floor deal with it later. But that one surface, start from empty and choose what returns. One settled surface changes how a whole room reads, and once one surface is right, it becomes much easier to extend the same patience to the next one. The washing is out now, 6 linen pillowcases and a pair of white curtains that have been waiting 3 weeks for the right Monday. They are going to billow in this air and dry before lunch and come in this evening smelling like the best possible version of themselves. I find that prospect completely satisfying. Some things are simply and quietly good, and that is enough. I hope your Monday has a window in it and some fresh air and one small thing that makes the week feel tended to from the very beginning. Come back tomorrow. I'll be in the dressing room. Until then, take good care of yourself.